Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to have a look at how to go about finding film quality assets for your projects in Unreal Engine 5. So there's many different marketplaces online, and some are better than others for finding game assets that will work in a high production value environment. Your first port of call should be the Unreal Marketplace. Now, you can access the marketplace through your Epic Games launcher, but I'd strongly recommend you don't do that. Instead, type in Unreal Marketplace into Google and open it up in a web browser. It ends up being a lot faster and you have a much better browsing experience. Now, the Unreal Marketplace has a lot of great free assets. Every month, Epic gives away a handful of free content. So up here in the banner, you can see free content for the month. And I've already added this to my cart and checked it out. But you can go in here and you can quickly find some quite nice assets. This would make a great film set, for example. Now to find that, if there's no banner, you can hover over free and you can see free for the month right here. You can also see some other great content here. So if you go to the permanently free collection, you'll be able to see a selection of assets that have been made permanently free. So every month they make 1 or 2 assets permanently free. So for example, there's this realistic starter VFX pack that's been made permanently free. So even if you don't claim it this month, it's going to be available for months to come. Have a scroll through here and check it out. There's also some great ones that aren't part of the marketplace releases, like this Rural Australia pack, which has an incredibly high fidelity environment. Also worth checking out is the Epic Games content. Now, this is content that Epic has made generally as part of an example project to show off new features or has been released from one of their previous projects. So these metahuman lighting presets are great. There's a monster with a rig here. There's characters, there's demos. If we go over here though, and we dive a bit deeper, we get some assets from the game Edith Finch, which has a bit of a less realistic art style, if you're into that, as well as several other games. My favorite though is these Paragon assets. They have around 20 odd really interesting characters. And if you check online or on this channel, you'll find some ways to integrate these characters with the metahumans, which can make for really high fidelity characters that you can use for free. In that same tab, you also have Megascans. So we'll cover the official Megascans later in the video, but here you can find some extra assets. So for example, these trees have just been released, the first Megascan trees, all free. A bunch of other free assets you could download from Bridge, which we'll cover later, or you can download straight here. But some of the real gems are actually these pre-made environments. You can see I've already downloaded them. So with these pre-made environments, you've got professional artists which have gone in and made incredible looking locations using Megascans assets. Now, even if you're not planning on using a location exactly like this, these can be used to great effect on other locations. For example, this abandoned apartment I downloaded and used as a sort of collection of assets for an environment I worked on for a short film on this channel. You could kind of see it as like a curated list of assets that you can import into your project. Now, if you're looking for specific assets, you can of course go in and search right here. It can take quite some time to find the best quality assets available using just the search. There's no sort by rating feature, which would be really nice for Epic to add. But if you scroll through, do the hard work, you can find some great stuff in there. Now, when you're finding things on the marketplace, you'll note that they have a specific engine version they're available for. This oftentimes doesn't matter, especially if it's just visual. So it's a static mesh, it's materials, it's whatever else, and it doesn't include actual code. You can generally get it into different versions of the engine quite easily. What you have to do is when you add to a project, you're presented with this screen. Now in this, I want to add to my Unreal Engine 5 project, but it's not visible here. So what I can do is I can tick Show All Projects right here. Scroll down until I find the project I like. Let's have a look at the UFA film set. You can see it says asset not compatible with version 5.0. Please select closest alternate version. And it's letting us know it doesn't have a 5.0 version of this asset. But that's fine. We're very happy to using the 4.27 asset, and we can add that to our project. Oftentimes this will work great. If you still run into issues, you can add it to a 427 project and then migrate it to your 5.0 project later on. Okay, now we're going to look at another marketplace. Artstation, recently bought by Epic, is a great resource for finding Unreal Engine assets. So all you got to do is you go to Artstation, hit Marketplace, and then over on the right here, make sure you sort by software, Unreal Engine. And you'll just be shown assets that are compatible with Unreal. I find Artstation has really cheap, really high quality assets. It doesn't have as wide a selection as many other marketplaces, but the stuff you do find looks great. One thing to note though is to read exactly what you're getting. For example, this 25 base mesh wild collection has a whole bunch of really cool animals, and you might expect you can go in there, you can animate and move these around. But if you actually read, it doesn't say anything about animations, and what these most likely are is just meshes with no skin bones available. The other thing to note is the licensing. So on the right here, you can see you can buy two different versions. There's the standard license, which allows you to use it in a personal or a small commercial project, or there's the extended commercial license, which allows much greater usage. Make sure you know what you're getting. Similarly, you might see something like this and think, oh, this is a really cool gun asset, but it's actually a tutorial. I don't know, you might get the gun asset as part of it, but just keep in mind, and for Artstation, you really need to read what you're getting and which category it's in. Now, the next one I want to look at is Megascans. Many of you will know what this is. It's a library of photoscan assets that's completely free to use with Unreal Engine 5. You can access it using the website, but an application called Bridge comes with Unreal Engine 5 and allows you to drag and drop straight into your project. Now, if you're a newcomer to this, it can be quite daunting. As you can see, there's over 16,000 assets, and a lot of them are just small ones like this grass, which are quite difficult for beginners to use. So I'd recommend you head over to here to Collections. Now what this is it's artists that have put together a scene and they've listed all the assets they've used. So if we check out these dystopian slums, we can see that Jessica Hegelson has created this, and we can see all the assets that she used to bring this to life. We can also go over here and see all these beautiful renders. Now, you don't get the scene itself, but you can see every single thing that went into it, which is very handy for helping you create your own. Okay, I'm now in the Quixel Bridge app, and I'm going to talk briefly about restraining yourself when using these Quixel Megascan assets. The first temptation as a newcomer to Megascans is to download everything in the highest possible fidelity for the geometry and for the textures. If you're using Unreal Engine 5, by all means download the highest level of detail possible. You probably won't notice it, you probably won't need it, but it honestly doesn't really matter. It will eat it up and it will deliver you an incredible looking result. For the textures, however, I'd strongly encourage you to use 2K textures for things that are not taking up more than the entire frame. This is simply because you won't notice it. Your computer will notice it, however, and it will start to slow down or run into memory issues if you have 8K textures for absolutely everything in your scene. It's also going to increase the size on your hard drive, the difficulty when working with them, and it's just going to make everything slower. And I'm not joking when I'm saying in 95% of cases, you will not notice the difference between 8K and 4K, and even 4K and 2K. In a lot of cases, you'd be surprised at what you can get away with. And you can always come back and download a higher res asset if you're noticing you have any issues. But this is how I've worked, and it actually has sped up my workflow considerably. So when downloading assets like this, I'd recommend you stick to 2K. The next marketplace I'm going to show is a much smaller collection of incredibly high quality assets from some really talented artists. It's called bigmediumsmall.com. And it has some incredible kits of characters, environments, and props. So right here, you see they've just done a big update to their medieval kit to bring it up to date with Unreal and add a lot more extra content. Everything's set up inside the engine now, and it all looks brilliant. My favorite pack by them is actually this one called Mech Squad, which again is set up to work inside Unreal. It features a bunch of really cool looking mechs, pilots, controls, bits and pieces that you can really do anything with. Just keep in mind exactly what you get in. So for example, these mechs, while very cool, aren't set up with proper skeletons and aren't really animation ready. I'm looking at doing a tutorial that features a rig from this collection on Control Rig, which would allow you to animate in Engine very effectively. The next site we're going to look at is Kitbash 3D. If you're looking to do big, open, epic scenes, this site is the place to go. They have some great kits for anything from sci-fi to fantasy, historical, battlefield, almost anything you can think of, they've got a kit for it. And they're fairly reasonably priced for what they're offering. And they've set up to work inside Unreal for the most part. Just keep in mind when browsing these Kitbash sites that often these images you see here are photoshopped. They use other assets not featured in the scene. So you're not getting the scenes themselves, you're only getting these assets. They're not suitable if you're looking to just download and film in an environment straight away. These are more for the people that want to build their own environments using a bunch of pre-made assets. Now the last three I want to look at quickly are the more mainstream sites, such as Sketchfab 3D. Now these are less likely to support Unreal Engine. If you search on Sketchfab for models, maybe tick PBR and you'll come across more assets that do support it. Similarly, we've got TurboSquid. They've got an Unreal Models section you can search. And we've got CGtrader. There's a bunch of others like this. They're generally, I find, more expensive, and you have to be very careful about what you're downloading and whether it's going to be compatible with the Unreal, because you might find that you download it and it's actually created in software you don't have or don't understand, and then or getting that back into Unreal becomes a huge hassle. Licensing on these websites can be a little bit tricky. For example, on the Sketchfab store, you've got to really read into what you're getting. You might download the subway train interior, pay you $5 and think, okay, it's great for me to use in my commercial or my short film, but it's got an editorial license, which if you go in and you read the fine print, it actually means, no, you cannot be used for any commercial or promotional use. So be careful on these sites and double check what you're actually buying and what rights you have when using this stuff. This is kind of your last port of call. If you can't find the quality you're looking for on other sites, or you can't find it in any of the previous examples, come to these sites, check them out, and see if they've got what you need. So those are the sites that I look at when I'm looking to get assets for my animated films. I'd love to know what websites you guys use and what assets. If you've got another great website, please leave it below. I'd love to know about it. I'm looking at doing a video in the future on how to organize assets that you do download and bring into Unreal. We've just launched the Unreal Film Academy, which is the fastest way to learn filmmaking in Unreal Engine 5 directly from experts. We're giving away a free primer course alongside a film set environment to get you up and going in Unreal Engine 5. We're also currently pre-selling our first major course, Introduction to Filmmaking, at a significant discount. Now this course is designed to get anyone, no matter their background, into Unreal, making animated content as quickly as possible, using traditional filmmaking techniques. Sign up now, and if you're one of the first 10 people to redeem this code, you'll get an additional 10% off your pre-order. The course is going to be available in early April. We're going to be covering some beginner topics in the future, so if you've got any suggestions, leave them in the comments below. Until then, happy filmmaking.